Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Planetary Reviews, and I'm here to talk about a movie that is very divisive. A lot of people do not like it, but is it as bad as Spider-Man 3? Well, let's talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like I said, a lot of people do not like this movie, and it has a lot of hate. A lot of people do not enjoy it. So, does it deserve all that? Let's talk about it. The first thing I gotta say about, well, let's talk about the story first before I say anything. The story of this movie is a little all over the place. It's about Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy dealing with their relationship and whether they should be together, whether they shouldn't be together. It's a lot of on and off, and also it's about Peter also learning about his mother and father's past. He learns a lot about what his dad was doing and why he had to run away, which is very cool. I'm very glad that they did that they wanted to talk more about his parents' origins, which is very cool. We never really get that in the movie, so seeing that in this movie was actually very nice. But then also, there were other parts of this movie with the story that were very confusing because they just added so many. On top of all this stuff that he's already dealing with, we have Harry Osborn being introduced, then we have Electro being introduced, and we have a little bit of the Rhino. Granted, they don't talk about him anywhere near as much as the other two, but we have the Rhino as well. And basically with those storylines is with the Harry Osborn stories that he's back in town with his dad and they're trying to find a cure for what's wrong with him. He wants him to try, Harry's dad pretty much tells Norman Osborn, just tells him, hey, you have the same disease that I do. You're going to have to deal with this. It's your turn to try and figure out how to cure yourself, because you're going to start showing signs too. And lo and behold, he does start showing signs. So now he's like, oh my god, I need to find Spider-Man's blood because it's the only way that's going to heal me. And then you have Electro, who is just this huge fan of Spider-Man, and he loves him. He's a little crazy. They made him a little annoying, in my opinion, in the beginning. And he's played by Jamie Foxx. Does a good job at playing this annoying character, but I didn't really like the route they chose to go with Electro. I don't know why they went that route, but luckily he got better when he got his powers and became a villain. But then they talk about him, and they show his origin story, and then they're talking more about Peter's past, and on top of that, they're still talking about the Green Goblin story and all of Harry Osborn's things that are going on. It's a very jumbled mess, the way they did this storyline. The storyline that does stay true, though, and very good, is the story between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy and how their relationship is going to struggle throughout this movie. It does a great job with that. That's what keeps you going throughout the story. You care about what's going on with Peter and Gwen and how they're going to make it through this. Is it going to be okay in the end? Or are they not going to be together? For those of you who haven't read the comics, you didn't know what was going to happen at the end. So people who did know comics knew what was inevitably going to happen in this movie. So we kind of knew. We were sitting there like, yeah, we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. But that is what keeps you going in this movie. I will say the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone is top notch. Holy crap. These two have such a great chemistry. With all the problems that this movie had, what kept me going to keep being like, oh, I want to know what's going to happen. Why I still could watch that movie and have a good time is because of the relationship between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. That relationship was so well done, and it kept me going just throughout this movie to make me really have a good time watching it, unlike Spider-Man 3 where I sat there and I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 doesn't have that effect on me because of this relationship. Also, very important thing we have to talk about is that they did improve the suit. A lot of people complained about the Spider-Man suit in the original, so they said, alright, we're gonna fix it. He makes one, the eyes are bigger, it looks better. It just overall is a great suit, and I like that. I was like, oh, that looks awesome. This is a huge improvement from the first one, so that is great. I love that suit. It was awesome. And also, as always, the special effects in this movie look great. I will say that always about these two movies. The special effects look great. When the fights were going down, it looked awesome. I was like, this is good to look at. I'm having a great time. And also, the performances in this movie, everyone was good. As annoying as Electro was in the beginning, he played the part well, Jamie Foxx. And we had Paul Giamatti as the Rhino, and he did his part in the beginning. He was there for a little bit, and then he appears later on in the end, so he did good. We have Sally Field as Aunt May, which was fantastic, absolutely amazing, because of the fact there was this one key scene where Peter asked her to explain more about his parents and about the past and everything. What do you know? and she doesn't want to tell him because she feels that she'll lose him because she's been watching over him his whole life and she loves him so much. She's like, no, you're my boy. You are my boy. I don't want you to be taken away. And it's just such an emotional scene, and she does such a great job of portraying just how hurt she is at doing this, how much she doesn't want to lose Peter, and it is fantastic. I love this scene. Sally Fields as Aunt May was great. In these two movies, she was amazing. Sally Fields, I gotta say, you were awesome as Aunt May in that scene. I love that scene. Every time I see it, I still feel the emotions that she felt in that scene. Awesome, awesome, awesome moment. And also, the way they did the Green Goblin in this movie was very cool in my opinion. Some people didn't like it, they didn't like his look. I like the fact that the Green Goblin, when Harry Osborn got transformed and he turned into the Green Goblin, I like the fact that he had a physical change. You actually see his body begin to change, you see his face change. Unlike in the original Spider-Man movie, which was great, but I have to admit the costume in that one wasn't that cool. It just looked like a Power Rangers villain. That's pretty much it. Willem Dafoe played a great job doing it, but I would have liked to see a physical change, make him look a little monstrous, and that's what this movie did. He looked a little monstrous when he did that. He looked like a crazy little freak, and he was strong, and I liked it. I liked the way they did the Green Goblin in this movie, so thumbs up from that. I like that. And also, this is a big spoiler for anyone who has not seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Big spoiler for this one. So I gotta talk about it though. The ending of this movie was great. The scene where they're fighting on the clock tower and Peter Parker is fighting the Goblin while trying to save Gwen Stacy, and the way they did her death was very emotional. I cared about that moment. It sucked. It was such a touching moment. Granted, did the comic books do it better? Yes, they did. But this movie still did a great job. I felt it when he goes to web her and then he pulls and then you see her her head and her back just kind of snap, and you hear her head hit the ground and you're just like, oh. And then when he goes down there to take a look at her, oh my god. The amount of emotion they portrayed in that one scene was so good. It was fantastic. I was like, dude, this is the way you do a death of Gwen Stacy. Could they have done it the way they did in the comic book by having her on the bridge and everything and then him save her? Yes, they should have done that. That would have been great. But you know what? I respect them for doing it the way he wanted to do it, the way they wanted to change it up. They didn't want to just be like, hey, look, this is how the comic book, we're going to do it exactly the same. No, they wanted to do it their own way with their own take on it. I respect that. Go right ahead. It was still very good, and I liked it. I felt it. Great scene. I couldn't believe how good that scene was done. And then the movie kept going on from there, which was a flaw in my opinion. After the death of Gwen Stacy, should have just cut to a funeral scene, which it did. He was at the funeral. He was paying his respects. He felt it and he was sad. And that, in my opinion, should have been where the movie ended. The movie should have just ended right there on a somber, dark note. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen now? Peter Parker is broken. He doesn't feel like he makes a good Spider-Man anymore because he couldn't save the woman he loved. He could not save her. So let it end like that. Give the audience something to be like, how is he going to overcome this? How is he going to be able to move forward from this moment? Let the next movie be that answer. Don't just give us what they did in this movie where it was just, hey, look, a kid is going to stand up against Rhino and we're trying to set up the Sinister Six. And now he's back. Don't do that. You just destroyed the emotion you created. The emotion that you created at the end of this movie was great. You should have left it at that. You should have just left it at, it's done. A dark moment. How's he going to overcome this? Boom. Maybe if you wanted to make it a little bit more dramatic at the end, maybe instead of making him see Captain Stacy throughout the entire movie, make him see him only at the end when Gwen Stacy dies. When his daughter that he promised to keep her out of danger and he just said no at the end of the first one, let him be able to sit there and see Captain Stacy sitting right there next to her grave. And then let the guilt sink in as he sits there and go, I should have said no. This is my fault for letting her die. And then boom, movie ends. What's going to happen next? That's the way it should have ended. Would have been 10 times better. But instead, one of the problems with this movie is that they cared so much about making other sequels. They cared so much about building more movies. That's not what you're supposed to do in a film. If you want to have a sequel, cool. Do like what I said. Leave it out as a note of sadness. What's going to happen next? Don't sit there and try and make a Sinister Six reference. Don't sit there and try and make a universe. Try and make a cohesive film. Then the others will come naturally because each film is good. But they suffered because they wanted to make a movie that set up all kinds of different movies. And that's where this movie suffered the most. Terrible plot, not terrible plot, but just too many plots, too many side things going on, trying to set up this, that. No. If this movie would have just been Peter and Gwen's story and then bring in the Goblin, I would have been fine with that. That would have made the story much more cohesive and much more simple and have it be more emotional. Instead, they just tried to put way too much in this. Like, Jesus, the friendship between Harry and Peter Parker was barely set up because of the fact that they just kind of sat there and said, hey, look, we were friends before. Yeah, now I'm back. That's it. I don't know how they be. I don't have enough of a connection with these two. I don't understand their connection that much because of the fact that you just kind of said, oh, look, they're here. And like I said, too many villains. Same mistake as Spider-Man 3. There were too many villains. Rhino didn't have to be here, and Electro didn't have to be here. Save those two for later. This could have simply been, I know we've seen a Green Goblin done before, but this could have just been Peter and Gwen's story, and then the Goblin gets involved in it. Boom. Could have made a great movie. A wonderful movie, but instead, you threw everything into one bucket, and it overfilled. Wow. And like I said, this movie, for all the hate that it gets, I don't think it deserves all the hate that it gets out there. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it is not terrible. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not Spider-Man 3. So anyone who says that, no. Spider-Man 3 is by far the worst Spider-Man movie of all time. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not a terrible film. So at the end of the day, in my opinion, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, while not perfect, it was still fun. I had a great time, a very emotional journey, a great story between Peter and Gwen, and the way they executed the tragic ending of Gwen Stacy's death was really, really good. So at the end of the day, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets a C+ from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me what you guys think about all the Spider-Man movies. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Which ones are your favorites? Why don't you like this one? For what reason? I want to know your guys' opinion, because like I said, I love Spider-Man. So I don't ever like to say negative things about Spider-Man, but I will always be willing to say that Spider-Man 3 was terrible, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is at least watchable. So, as I said before, thank you so much for watching. Look forward to my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 review coming out either tomorrow night or it will be coming out early on Friday morning. So look forward to that. Depending on how I feel, I'll try to get it out for you as fast as possible, but I might be tired by the time I finish seeing that movie. But then after that, Prey will be coming out, so I'm going to be reviewing that, trying to get that for you next week. So bear with me. I'm trying to get that one done when that game comes out. And then after that, we have Injustice 2 coming out. That's going to be a very fun superhero fighting game that I'm excited to play. So yeah, there's some exciting stuff coming around. Oh, and the Alien Covenant movie coming out this month. Something else I'm very excited to go see. But that's all the time I have for today. Guys, thank you so much for watching as always. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and maybe follow me on Twitter at Planetary Review. I couldn't fit that S. Give that a try. But as always, guys, have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.